Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a This Is Not a Top 10 video on a note that I've actually been ignoring. It's a note that I've been purposely kind of staying away from because it's a note that is usually a no-no for me, especially when it's very overdosed in a fragrance, or if the perfumer is heavy-handed with this note, it can really put me off. It's probably one of the most traditionally feminine notes in all of perfumery, but the more that my nose has matured, if you will, or the more my knowledge base of perfume has grown, and I've come to appreciate it in certain fragrances, okay? It's very selective, and it has to be dosed properly, but we're going to do an entire video that's going to focus on the note of tuberose. And so a couple things. I've been very blessed because here I have some dark tuberose, and I've got it actually on a blotter right here. And this was sent to me by my good friend Russian Adam. He also sent me these amazing Amouage Ubar blotters, which it won't focus on. There you go, Amouage Ubar blotters. And so I've got the tuberose, and you can see what it did to the blotter. Look at that. And so I've been smelling this for the last couple hours, just to remind myself of, what actual tuberose smells like. And so the scientific name is Agave amica for tuberose, and it's a perennial plant. Apparently, one thing I didn't know, it was originally native to Mexico. So when you see like Indian tuberose, Hawaiian tuberose, all this stuff, they all originally came from Mexico. And it really took off, I guess, in the 1700s when in perfume it was basically sent to Queen Marie Antoinette, who famously used it in some of her fragrances that she had her, back then I guess they had like a specific person that was used just to make the fragrances for the queen and the royal family and stuff like that. So they started using tuberose and it kind of took off. But the way that it's described, or according to the Perfume Society, here's kind of how they describe the note. And I'll tell you what I smell from the actual note of tuberose. We'll talk about some of the fragrances in my collection that have that note, whether they're samples that I've talked about on the channel or I plan on talking about on the channel, or whether they are full bottles. And some of these, the note of tuberose is almost, non-existent. It's there, but it's part of the blend. Some of them, they're very tuberose heavy, and we'll talk about those as well. So here's the way that the Perfume Society describes tuberose. Voluptuous, intoxicating. Those are two words that they use, and expensive is the third word, because they say it takes 3,600 kilos of flowers to produce just half a kilo of tuberose oil. So it's not a cheap ingredient like some people think. And the aroma can be sweet, it can be exotic, it can be complex, it can be velvety, it can be floral, obviously. It can be white floral, which is usually what puts people like me off. It can be indolic. And they say it can make scents smell sophisticated, which, to each their own. I think leather makes sense smell sophisticated more than tuberose, but that's my personal taste. I try not to let that get in the way. And it says that the tuberose you smell in modern creations is usually a synthetic copy, not just because of price, but because tuberose has this creamy camphor-like quality. The camphor-like side of tuberose can come off, and it can put people off. So the synthetic tuberose kind of removes some of those ingredients from the actual tuberose that tends to put some people off. Roja Dove called it the harlot of perfumery, and it's a very interesting take. In his usual salesman tactic, he hit the nail on the head. In Victorian times, the tuberose symbolized dangerous pleasure. That's a great place to leave it at. Dangerous pleasure for tuberose is a great, just, one-liner, little blurb. So let's talk about what I smell, because when I smell the actual tuberose that was sent to me by Russian Adam, and thank you again to him, because stuff like this has completely changed the way that I've been able to smell perfume. And if you follow some of the big fragrance channels, like for example, Wafts from the Lofts just did a video today, where they're smelling individual ingredients. So they're taking linalool, they're you know, pulling out these individual ingredients, dihydromercenol, and smelling them. And they say that it does help kind of understanding the overall blend of what you're smelling, and I completely agree. So when I smell tuberose, I get the creaminess, but I also get this extremely green. Tuberose here smells much more green than you'll smell in a composition normally. The creaminess is there, almost bordering on coconutty, which we'll get to in one of the perfumes. And, you know, for me, that green quality comes across as almost smelling a little bit like artichoke leaves blended up. You know when you have the artichoke and you use your teeth and like peel the meat off of the artichoke leaf? What I imagine that the green aspect of tuberose smells like is if you take those artichoke leaves and blend them up afterwards, after you've stripped the meat off of them with your teeth, and you know, usually discard the little artichoke leaf or whatever they call it. Imagine if you then took those discarded bits and blended them up and mixed it with this creamy white floral. Extremely hypnotic, which hypnotic poison was the name of a tuberose perfume, I believe. I don't own, but I think Persolaise did a video on hypnotic poison today saying it was 25 years old, which is crazy to think about. But it's very hypnotic, and I'm trying to think of a good descriptor of tuberose. How would I describe it? Narcotic. Narcotic is a great word. It's a narcotic smell. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I used to fall in the strictly hate category. If there was tuberose, I didn't come close to a fragrance. If I saw it in a note tree, I didn't buy a fragrance. And I have changed my tune, as you will see. There are a lot of fragrances in this list that I have some full bottles of. Not as many as some of these. This is not a top 10 list where they go on forever. But there are some full bottles here. There's a lot of samples. So let's get started. So this is unranked, by the way. So this is just fragrances in my collection that have the tuberose note. But before we get started, in classic Ram fashion, I want to do scent of the day, because the scent of the day today is an absolute humdinger. It is one of the best examples of fine French perfumery I've ever smelled in my entire journey. On the face of the earth, I truly think this is one of the best examples of fine French perfumery. And it smells very different to the 80s eau de toilette bottle that I've showed off on the channel many a times. This is a little bit different. It showcases more of the floral aspects. It showcases more of the powdery Chanel sparkle, okay? And it's my 1960s bottle of Cuir de Russie Eau de Cologne. And this is just such a honor to wear. I mean, it is truly a blessing to wear. I feel every time I spray this, I've only worn it to bed as of late. This is the first time I've actually worn it as my scent of the day. And you know, as I'm applying it, I'm thinking to myself, my God, every single spray of this is like, it's a blessing. But then I'm thinking, you know what? I've seen so many people that hoard their stuff and then they just, you know, something happens to them. Something terrible happens. They're in a car accident or whatever it is. They're so protective of their stuff. They never get to wear it and enjoy it. So my whole point of my fragrance collection is I want to wear it. I want to create memories with it. I want to enjoy it. And I want to use every single drop of every fragrance I have before I'm gone from this earth. Hopefully I have a long way to go. But this is the bottle, the Eau de Cologne of Cuir de Russie. And if you take a look at the back, you'll see the 75 proof. And on the bottom is the little Chanel old school sticker. Beautiful, beautiful presentation, beautiful bottle, perfectly kept. I mean, it doesn't seem a single top note is missing. This was actually sealed when I got it from my friend Antonio in Italy, which, by the way, if you're interested in vintage fragrances, I can pass along his information. He's an amazing fellow, and I trust him. I inherently trust him. I've only got one big haul from him, but I've been working with him periodically, referring people to him. I don't get anything for it, But I've been referring people to him, and everyone has come back and said they've been completely happy. So, but Cuir de Russie is, you get that Chanel iris that becomes so popular in the less exclusives here, even more than you do in the 80s bottle. I like the 80s bottle because it seems like the pieces that I like are a little bit more amped up, that leather. But man, what a perfect example of fine French perfumery this is. Just amazing. Amazing to smell. I can't even almost put it into words. So, that is my scent of the day. Cuir de Russie Eau de Cologne. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. I feel triumphant wearing that fragrance. Okay, so let's get started. So the first one we're going to talk about is a fragrance from Peter Carter's house. And I've done a couple early impressions on this house, but I have not done an early impression on this one yet, so hopefully very soon. So that's the house's logo. It's called Centauri Perfumes, if you're not familiar with Peter Carter. He also has his own YouTube channel, and this is called Gaea. So Gaea basically translates to Mother Earth, which is the type of names all of his, fragrances are kind of named in that style, which I like. I like where his head's at, the way that he put his brand together, the marketing, and the way that he, feels things come together, and, his acceptance of fate and the universe and all this stuff. So here's what the bottle looks like if you're ever interested in seeing a full bottle. Beautiful bottles. He had these bottles in caps designed just for his brand, and they are gorgeous. And this says, Gaea, aka Gaea, the goddess Mother Earth, this beautiful home we walk upon, filled with life and wonder, from the leaves of the tree to the soil on the ground, the blooming flower, fruit and honey from the bees. We are connected and created out of the same earth. A network of unity, balance, harmony, and diversity is the nature of the earth. And so this is green leaves, dry earth, honey, tuberose, rose, lavender, orris butter, apple, cedarwood, wormwood, patchouli, and ambergris. I have not smelled this one yet, but hopefully I will give this a wear. This will be my scent of the day one day, and I'll do a video on it. So that is the very first one. Gaea from Centauri Perfumes came out in 2019. Sounds like a great fragrance to wear in spring with the earthy aspects and the fruity apple and honey and stuff like that. So I'm excited to try that one. I'm excited to try his whole brand. I have so many samples to try. It's not even funny. I could do an early impression video from now until the end of the year, and I'd probably still have samples left over. So if you've sent me anything, or if you're a brand and you've sent me anything, please be patient. I will try my best. But I'm kind of sporadic on how I choose what I wear. I don't really have a plan. Sometimes I just pick something and I want to wear it. Sometimes I'll wait 6 months and then I'll pick something up and want to wear it. So next is a brand called Parfums Quartana. And if you were able to join my live stream yesterday, you saw I did an unboxing of their sample set. And there are 4 fragrances in this sample set that have the tuberose note, which is crazy because I think there was only, how many here? 9. There was only 9 in the whole set, so 4 of them have tuberose, and one of them, interestingly enough, is a masculine targeted fragrance. And this is called Wolfsbane. So Wolfsbane is a creation by Philippe Paparella-Petit from Simrise. And it's angelica root, fig leaf, cumin, ginger, absinthe, patchouli, cedarwood, tuberose, tobacco flower, castoreum, benzoin, sandalwood, prunal, vetiver, white fawn lily, and black truffle. Probably from the whole brand, this is the one I'm most excited about because it has castoreum, one of my favorite notes. I love the animalic funk. I hope it's turned up here. It says it's a green floral fragrance though, so we'll see what it actually smells like. And I love cumin too, so I'm very excited about that one. And then the last 3, I believe, are feminine targeted fragrances. This is called Midnight Datura from Parfums Quartana. And it's a sweet floral scent created by Lisa Fleischmann of Simrise. Green leaves, mandarin orange, bergamot, divana, rum, jasmine, tuberose, magnolia, lily of the valley, rose, violet, lavender, heliotrope, datura, clove, nutmeg, pepper, balsams, patchouli, vanilla, sandalwood, cedarwood, amber, and musk. That also sounds like an amazing creation. And each one of these is based on a poisonous flower, if you're not familiar with this brand. He has a brand new one, which I'm hoping to get a sample of very soon. So hopefully I can talk about that one as well. And then the next one is Venetian Belladonna. Venetian Belladonna. And this is a fruity floral with blackcurrant, violet water. Very interesting note. Plum, sultanine, which is a trademarked material I'm not familiar with. Sultanine, I don't know which one of the big oil houses owns that one. Cognac, styrax, ambret seed, jasmine, sambac, honey, iris, tuberose, patchouli, labdanum, suede, saffron, beeswax, sandalwood, and vetiver. So, interesting note breakdown. I think this sultanine, I don't know if it's a new ingredient or what, but I've never heard of it before. So, I'll be interested to smell this one as well, of course. And finally, we've got Poppy Soma. And Poppy Soma is a creation by Emile Bevier Copperman of Simrise. Sichuan pepper and red pepper, very interesting. Curry leaf, black gardenia, jasmine sambac, red rose, church incense that likes to atone for their sins. Labdanum, tuberose, styrax, and Tonkin musk. Also very interesting. Those last three are marketed for women, but I'm really interested in to smell those as well. It's supposed to be a spicy floral. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. This video brought to you by Fiji. Just kidding. Fiji, if you don't want to be associated with this, it is not marketed by Fiji. There is no, the Ram has no, he has no sponsors, okay? I'm just a little small channel with no sponsors. If I ever say anything sponsored, it's probably a joke. But if it's not a joke, I'll make sure I tell you one day. Okay, so next we're going to talk about some decants that I really am excited to talk about. Many of these have been sent by some of you who are subscribers and fragrance friends and part of our little fragrance family. So this came out in 1978. I'm actually shocked I've never smelled this before until now. I'm shocked that I have not. I really look forward to doing a video on this one is what I'm blabbering about. But this is from Lancome, which yesterday I wore a Lancome fragrance called Cuir de Lancôme. That's not bad. That's not bad at all, but it's not my type of leather, but I can appreciate it. But this is a spicy oriental fragrance that is considered kind of one of the reference perfumes of its genre. Blackcurrant, hyacinth, green notes, bergamot, raspberry, honey, iris, jasmine, lily of the valley, narcissus, tuberose, ylang-ylang, oriental rose, patchouli, vetiver, civet, castoreum, civet and castoreum combo, musk, oak moss, and benzoin. That is like, yeah, I mean, just the note listing and smelling it, I can't wait to wear that and talk more about it. That might be Lancome's best scent. There's a new one that came out a couple years ago from a brand that also I think came out a couple years ago. And it's from the house of Scents of Wood. And it's called Papyrus in Acacia. Papyrus in Acacia. I have not smelled this one yet. Rachel very kindly sent this to me. And just smelling it from the atomizer, you know, Scents of Wood has like this very distinctive style. It must be the DNA. Smells like something with the tonka bean absolute they use. I don't know what it is, but it's very familiar. If you've smelled plum and cognac, you'll kind of get a hint of the DNA, and it's here. Star anise, carrot, Egyptian geranium absolute, orris concrete, Indian tuberose absolute, Egyptian cassie absolute, cypriol tonka bean absolute, and Java vetiver. I think Java vetiver is the one that's usually a little bit more smoky. It's kind of the, I think of it as the, is Java vetiver the smoky one? I think it is. And then this one really shocked me. And I said there would be some masculine perfumes in here that have the note of tuberose. Papyrus and Acacia is a masculine targeted fragrance, the one before. And, you know, we talked about Wolfsbane being a masculine targeted fragrance with tuberose. This is probably the most mainstream masculine targeted fragrance with tuberose, though. This is Bvlgari Man in Black. So I'm gonna do a early impression video on this as well, since I don't have a full bottle, but I want to talk about it on the channel. Man in Black and then Spice Bomb kind of have this rivalry going. I own a bottle of Spice Bomb Extreme, which I enjoy. I'm not, my head's not too far in the clouds that I can't say I don't enjoy it, because I do. But this is known for its tobacco and rum and slight bit of leather. But also, there's a tuberose note. There's an orris absolute note. Now, this is according to Parfumo, by the way, which is who I use. I like Parfumo's setup, and so just keep that in mind. Sometimes if you check Fragrantica base notes, they'll say different things. But according to Parfumo, Bvlgari Man in Black, which came out in 2014, has a tuberose note, which, crazy. I never hear anyone talk about that tuberose note. It's always emphasis on the tobacco and rum. So we'll see when I get a chance to wear it and do an early impression what I think. And then this was very kindly sent to me by my good friend Lee from Fragnanimous. If you're looking for Bortnikovs, if you're looking for Prins, if you're looking for Arise Ladores, if you're looking for Melegs, you know, if you're looking for those kind of indie fragrance houses, check out this Fragnanimous.com. That's where I get all my Bortnikovs. Again, not sponsored, just a tip that I bought. All of my Bortnikovs, all 8 bottles or whatever they are, have come from Lee. And I really do trust him. I know he'll take good care of you. He also has some partials on there, which are kind of cool. He's got some 90% full partials, but this is Prin Rahassanai. Quite the name. But it came out last year, 2022. And it's supposed to be this earthy animalic. And there's a tuberose absolute note in here with a ton of other notes. There's skunk accord, Thai oud, camphor, which could come from the tuberose, costus, which can sometimes have this wet animal-like feel, castoreum, cypriol or nagamatha oil. You know, there's all kind of animalic ingredients spread out throughout his scents, which are usually par for the course. I'm not the biggest Prin fan, but maybe one day I'll find one that I really like. That could even be it. I'll do a early impression video or maybe like a late night insight video on that one day. Okay, next. Next on the list is a fragrance that... Next on the list is a fragrance that only has a number on it. Although, it's more than a number, because I actually did a early impression, or not an early impression. I did a, what would you call it? A blind sniffing episode is what I would call it. I did a blind sniffing episode with this scent, and it's from the house of Strange Love New York City, which is a brand I've never smelled before. It's a new brand for me. And this one's called Dead of Night. And of course, my computer just froze, so I can't pull it up. But Dead of Night had an amazing oud accord, and there was tuberose in here as well. The oud accord, so if you've never seen my blind sniffing episodes, I made an entire playlist specifically for the 5 or 6 episodes I've done that were blind sniffing, or fragrances I've never smelled before, like complete either blind sniffing or early impression, like first impression, not early, but first time I've ever smelled it. Like I did a video on the 4 new Amouages, Search and Purpose and stuff like that. You know, that was like, hey, here it is, spraying it, smelling it for the first time. But these were actually blind. I had no clue what they were. And number 6 was Strange Love New York City's Dead of Night, which has this oud tuberose you know, it's a rose oud basically, but it's a very well done rose oud. Actually, when I smelled it, I thought it was a Bortnikov. It reminded me of Oud Maximus, which is one of my favorite Bortnikov fragrances. So if you're kind of, somebody left me a comment saying they're trying to get into Arabian perfume, they want to smell ouds, this Dead of Night by Strangelove could be one to try to get your nose on to introduce you to oud. Okay, there was actually one that I think I wanted to show earlier that I forgot. And this is Chanel's number 22. So I've shown this one before. This is, you can see compliments of Chanel. This 19 ml bottle is what they used to give when you bought a full bottle of Chanel back in the day. Ah, the good old days, man. And look at this thing. And so if you pull up number 22, the Parfum, there's a tuberose note in there. I don't know, because this bottle actually came out, I think this is like an 80s bottle, is what I think it is. So in the databases, there's the Les Exclusifs Eau de Toilette, which is discontinued, and there's the Les Exclusifs Eau de Parfum, which is still available. But the Parfum, which came out in 1922, you know, shows a tuberose note with that classic Chanel floral bouquet like I'm smelling in my Cuir de Russie, which is just unbelievable. It's just mind-blowing. You know, it's got that iris, it's got that ylang ylang, it's got that jasmine. This is basically a wedding, known as Chanel's wedding scent. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of tuberose in there. A little bit of that narcotic tuberose smell. But I can't pull it up because my computer froze. So we'll just roll. We'll roll without it. Okay, so next is an Etro. And this is, I think, one of the most underrated brands in all of perfume. Etro Goma is one of my favorite leathers of all time, but you got to get the vintage Eau de Cologne. I've never smelled the modern Eau de Toilette. It may be great. I just can't speak to it. I also got the Eau de Cologne version of Ambra, which is stunning. Their amber is amazing. But this is one I want to do a video on because Rachel very kindly sent me a decant. And this is called Royal Pavilion. Have you guys heard of this one? Royal Pavilion. And so Royal Pavilion is this floral sweet fragrance that has a ton of florals. Jasmine, rose, ylang, gardenia, tuberose, mimosa absolute, all kind of stuff. But it sits on a beautiful base of this sandalwood with oak moss, vetiver, and a little bit of benzoin, Siam benzoin that gives it a little bit of warmth and musk, and clove. So it's a little bit spicy, but mostly floral. And there's some petit grain in the top, which I think is like the twigs and sticks of the orange tree. And, you know, it adds this little freshness, woody freshness to it. And then you know, the sandalwood, the wood in the base adds some wood. So it's kind of a floral with that woody base. It's beautiful, spicy from the clove. But this is a stunning fragrance. I need to talk about it very soon. Like I said, there's so many fragrances I want to talk about that I probably won't end up with a bottle, but it deserves to be discussed because it's so good. Speaking of fragrances that seem like they are so good that deserve to be discussed, this is a Guerlain, a very expensive Guerlain too. This was sent to me very kindly by one of my perfume god people. This is called Mayotte. I don't know how to pronounce that. I apologize. Apologize, Guerlain. Mayotte is what we'll go with. But it came out in 2006. It's also a floral sweet fragrance. Green notes, frangipani, tuberose, jasmine, neroli, ylang ylang, sandalwood, vetiver, and vanilla. Of course, it's a Guerlain. It's going to have that vanilla guerlainade in the base. And this is discontinued. This is one of the hard-to-find Jean-Paul Guerlain, long-lost Jean-Paul Guerlain creations. So that deserves to get some talk on the channel very soon. Thank you to the perfume god person who sent me that. And next is a vintage YSL. This is back to Rachel. She sent me some gems, man. And this is, oh, I want a bottle of this so bad. It's probably one of the best green, fruity, florally chypres that I do not have in my collection. It's so good. It is, oh, shit, I just got some on my lip. Man, is that leaking? That'll make me sad. Hang on. Let me get a towel. Well, at least the towel smells amazing now. I gotta be careful with this thing. It leaked on me. What is going on with you, buddy? What are you doing? Why are you leaking? What's wrong with you, huh? Do you have a grievance? Do you have a grievance to bring to the court? All right, we'll just make sure you sit upright. But this is the vintage version of YSL Y. Okay, now, for all you newbies to the world of perfume, when you see YSL Y, you probably think of the modern blue fragrance for men. YSL Y from 1964 was the exact opposite of that. It was a deep, multifaceted, layered chypre. Like, you could just go down into the layers. And it was a women's targeted release. It was their very first release from 1964, okay? And it is stunning. Stunning aldehydic floral opening with fruits. There's peach and plum and hyacinth. Hyacinth is another narcotic flower, speaking of narcotics. So you have tuberose and you have hyacinth in here. And it sits on a base of amber, benzoin, oak moss, sandalwood, styrax, patchouli, vetiver, and civet. I think this probably inspired Chanel number 19 a little bit because of that green chypre top. I definitely think this inspired Givenchy 3, which, you know, is somewhat close to this, but this came out years before. The bottle design is stunning. It was a Pierre Denard bottle creation, which he gets a shout out because he's an amazing creator of bottles, probably one of the best bottle creator of all time. Yeah, got on my fingers, and it's just amazing. It's an amazing chypre. If you like chypres like I do, definitely one to check out. And then we have a Jill Sander, and this one I do have a, can't look it up. This one I do have a video on if you want to go check it out. It's been a while, so I've kind of forgot the scent a little bit, but I remembered saying it was full bottle worthy for sure. This is Jill Sander Woman 2. So I think this came out in the early 80s, like 82, 83, 81. Don't hold me to it, but I think that's when Woman 2 came out. And this is even more my style of a chypre because it has those animalic accords. It's got that castoreum, if memory serves, in the dry down, and it has the floral heart with the tuberose, but it's a chypre construction marketed for women, probably even more masculine than YSL Y. YSL Y leans traditionally more feminine. This kind of, I think, leans traditionally a little bit more masculine. I would love a bottle of Woman 2. So yeah, the House of Jill Sander is another one of those extremely underrated houses that goes along with Etro. Okay, let's talk about a new niche house. So this is a house that has a very interesting story. There's a video that Sebastian, the perfume guy, put up year or two ago where he talked to the founder. They gave the idea where they wanted to revive this house. And they found this house, and the house was called Violet. It looks like violet, but I think it's pronounced Violet. And that is their logo. And if you've ever seen the bee, Guerlain uses the bee, and apparently so did they. There were multiple houses that used the bee. The bee was almost like a royal symbol, if you will. And so they revived this house. But interestingly enough, they didn't just revive the house and then remake the fragrances. They revived the house using the traditional formulas. So they got Nathalie Lorson to come in and create the fragrances using the vintage formulas as well. Very cool idea. So this one is called Compliment. And originally it was called Compliments. So in 1939, Violet put out Compliments with an S at the end. So they dropped the S and it becomes Compliment now. The one that really counts is what they say. Eucalyptus and Palmarosa opens up to bring spontaneous and natural freshness, a heady heart filled with jasmine, tuberose, and orange blossom for radiant generosity. A tender and warm base translates by suave benzoin, ultimately a sincere and genuine compliment. There are fragrances that captivate our surrounding by flattering their nostrils. Others are self-praised gifts. Compliment will bring you both. So excited to wear this. I'm kind of waiting for the weather to get a little bit warmer. And maybe I'll take the plunge and wear this as my scent of the day and do an early impression video on it. Okay, next is another new house that I'm excited to dive into. And again, this is thanks to Rachel. I owe a lot to her. This is called Darren Allen Perfumes is the name of the house. Unfortunately, Darren Allen for now only ships in the US. But if I were you guys, I would continue to bombard him with requests to send internationally because he should be shipping internationally. That's my opinion. I just hydrated myself. I'm going to hydrate my eyes real quick. Bear with me. All right, the eyes need hydration. So Darren Allen Perfumes is a house I'm really interested in exploring because they, rumor is that he really spent a lot of time studying the vintages and his creations have a very vintage tilt to them. And so this is the one right here, the very first one, Fatis de Noel. That is the one that uses tuberose. It's bergamot, orange, clove, sweet gale, tuberose absolute, Mayrose absolute, jasmine grandiflorum absolute, ylang ylang, labdanum absolute, mousse de saxe, musk, civet, white ambergris, sandalwood, patchouli, frankincense, vanilla, and orris butter. Sounds right up my alley. So very excited to talk about and get to know this house. You know, this will be a great little intro to the house for me. So thank you, Rachel. Very kind of you to send these to me. And another house, which I am need to get to know, and it's on the list. Again, lot on the list in 2023 is the house of Hiram Green. And again, some of this stuff has just been sitting around for months. I haven't gotten to it yet. You know, I will. Sometimes someone sends me something new, and I just want to try that, and so this stuff gets pushed to the back. But the one that is on the list is probably their most popular fragrance. It's called Slow Dive. And so Slow Dive is a sweet resinous fragrance with neroli, orange blossom, tobacco flower, honey, beeswax, dried fruits, tuberose, resins, and resins in the base. And so many consider Slow Dive to be one of the best honey fragrances of all time. You know, for a 2017 release, that's probably going to be a tough thing for me to admit since I love Hugo Boss #1 so much. But I will hopefully get to know it. Hopefully get to know Slow Dive very soon. And then a sample that was sent to me by Armando. Thank you, Armando. This is called Ubar. And Ubar is a discontinued amouage for women. Romancing the mystery of Ubar's splendor. Paradise is regained with echoes of bergamot and lily of the valley, complementing the majestic damascene rose with the eternal presence of sandalwood. The mid has a tuberose rosewood combination, and this is discontinued. I wonder how much of it had to do with rosewood, you know, ban or whatever it is. I love rosewood. It's one of my favorite smells because my mother had this rosewood rosary growing up. And I just remember that smell being so distinct and beautiful. And I've talked about some rosewood fragrances recently, but this could potentially be another one. So I'm very, very excited to get to know Ubar. And again, also on the list to wear and give my early impressions on. It's on the never-ending list, so be patient. It will happen soon. And here's one I actually already did an early impression on, and it was positive. I enjoyed it. I won't buy a bottle, but it was a positive experience, and it was called Civet by the house of Zoologist, which very kindly Victor Wong reached out and sent me the entire sample set. So I have a lot of content to put out there. But I really enjoyed Civet. It says, as the sun sinks over the dense tropical forest, civets emerge warily from the thickets. Under a carpet of narcotic flower blossoms, a smattering of coffee berries peppers the ground. The moist air is heavy with mossy aromas that penetrate every crevice. Every crevice? But the musky scent of the civets dominates, their marked territories, daring one to enter at one's own risk. Zoologist Civet pays homage to the age-old ingredient civet as well as sheep perfumes of bygone days, a bewildering, sophisticated scent with the promise of a sultry nighttime rendezvous. So in the heart, you have Tuberose. And I enjoyed this. This was very good. Actually, this is a very good modern chypre. It's hard to buy modern chypres nowadays, so you know, it just is what it is, especially when you've smelled stuff like this. Like I was just talking about how amazing the vintage YSLY was. Very hard to go back and buy modern. For the same money, you maybe could find a vintage bottle of YSLY. That's the trade-off, you know, as a frag head. And then there was actually another zoologist with a tuberose note. Interestingly enough, it was Seahorse. And Seahorse is a Julian Rascanet creation, believe it or not. Does that seahorse look Roman to you or what? So apparently the Romans used to give this award called the Crown of Grass, and it would go around their heads, and it was given to the person who saved an entire legion. Like the bravery of one person saved an entire legion. So you can imagine they didn't give that out very much, mostly because legions didn't like to admit that they were in peril and had to be saved by the bravery of one Roman. But apparently this seahorse got that. And so very cool design. I love the little paintings there. That's an awesome touch. So this is an aquatic fresh fragrance with Guatemalan cardamom, fennel, ambrette seed absolute, clary sage, tuberose neroli, algae absolute. Very interesting note. Vetiver and ambergris. I really like the house of Zoologist. I only own one full bottle. That's Moth, but I'm a big fan of the house. So that is Seahorse. And then I want to talk about I want to talk about I wish I could pull these up. I want to talk about a Diva fragrance. An Ungaro fragrance called Diva. So Diva is Jacques Pol's first foray into this DNA of perfumes, which he will then come back to the very next year. This is 1983. And 1984, he will come back to it with the world-famous Chanel Coco, which I absolutely love, but I also love this. This is amazing stuff. I wish I had a bigger bottle than this little mini. I decanted it. So I'll do an early impression, talk about it and all that stuff on the channel. But it's a spicy floral take. But it also has amber, honey, civet. I love that honey touch they did in the 80s with women's fragrances. Iris, jasmine, narcissus, carnation, rose, ylang ylang, orris root, tuberose, aldehydes, coriander, cardamom. I mean, it's just easy to wear as a man for me. I have no problem wearing this. No problem. I love the bottle design. I love the name. Diva, great name. And then we've got a Jean Patou, one of the greatest houses of all time, in my opinion. And this is the Parfum version of Joy. So this is explained if you listen to someone like Persolaise. Persolaise says that Joy is like feeling a carpet, a brand new plush carpet with, you know, you put your hand on it and you just feel the carpet threads just go on and on and on and on and on, or you put your face to it and it just looks like the carpet has that texture that just goes on forever. That's a great way to describe this. It's an animalic floral scent. Reminds me a little bit of Amouage Man, which I love. I've got a bottle of that. Aldehydes, green notes, peach, rose, tuberose, ylang ylang, orris root, jasmine, lily of the valley, orchid, rose, musk, sandalwood, and civet. And it's a beautiful, one of the best floral fragrances money can buy. I mean, it is stunning, beautifully stunning. Very lucky to have this bottle that's probably 23, 24 years old. Well, copyright 1999 it says, so it can't be 24 years old. But yes, it's old. It's 20 plus years old probably. Beautiful, beautiful stuff this is. And then we have a Roja Dove. And this is kind of Roja's take on, you know, I found it very similar to Civet, actually. I owned this before I smelled this, so I never knew this was close to this. But since I have a Discovery Atomizer, you know, 7.5 ml Discovery Atomizer of Chypre Extraordinaire, which is what this is, that's why one of the reasons I decided not to go for a full bottle of Civet. Chypre Extraordinaire kind of does the same thing, but with maybe a little higher quality ingredients, not price-wise that much of a difference, though. I mean, we're talking a $1,000 perfume versus a $180 perfume or whatever it is. So is this 10 times the price? No, absolutely not. But Chypre Extraordinaire is a good Chypre. It just focuses so much on the florals for me. Lots of florals, beautiful florals. If you want your Chypres to focus on the florals, this could be your fragrance. For me, you know what I want my Chypres to focus on? The skank. I want it to be the spices. I want it to be the moss. I want it to be the civet. I want it to be the castoreum, whatever it is, the leather. And this is not, Chypre Extraordinaire is not that for me. It focuses on the florals. Aldehydic floral opening. Beautiful, to be fair. It's a beautiful fragrance. It's just not full bottle worthy for me. But I will do a full review on this very soon. Or I've been planning on doing a full review on this very soon. Geranium, May Rose, Orange Blossom, Jasmine from Grass, Tuberose, Ylang, Cistus, Heliotrope, Violet, Blackcurrant, Bud, Peach, Plum, Clove, Cumin, Patchouli, Oak Moss, Cedarwood, Sandalwood, Benzoin, Vanilla, Tonka, Amber, Iris, Styrax, Leather, Civet, and Musk. Good perfume, but I don't think it's worth the money. I think it's overpriced by a lot. The one I don't think is overpriced by a lot that has a tuberose note, and it's my favorite Roja, is Diaghilev. I think Diaghilev's a masterpiece. I wish I had more than just that much juice left, but oh God. Man, very few fragrances can do what Diaghilev does to me. Diaghilev just pierces my soul, just like, you know. Spicy Chypre is how I would describe this, but it has that tarragon note, which gives it this anise-like quality. The tuberose is in the heart with Jasmine from Grass, Heliotrope, and May Rose and Ylang. But it's that ambrette, cumin, leather, civet. You know, it really feels like it feels like sex on the skin. You know, is what it feels like. It feels like it's such an overtly sexual fragrance. I love it. I'm a huge fan of Diaghilev. Man, I cherish that. I wish I had more than that much juice left, but I will cherish it. And then we've got a Dior. Okay, we're moving on to the full bottles now, as you saw. So now we've got a Dior. And this is one of those Chypre fragrances that I don't pick out the tuberose, to be honest with you. I don't get it. But it's there according to the note breakdown. This is Dior Essence. This is the great Guy Robert created this in 1969. Aldehydes, bergamot, fruity notes, green notes, orange, geranium, orris root, jasmine, carnation, rose, tuberose, violet, ylang, cinnamon, benzoin, oak moss, musk, patchouli, styrax, vanilla, and vetiver. And I describe this as being like Instead of just having a perfume triangle, it feels like there's like 3 different perfumes stacked on top of each other. Like you really get different, the transitions in this are so glorious. I was stunned by how beautiful this fragrance is. I mean, I was literally shocked, you know, by how beautiful this fragrance is, and just how wearable it is too. I mean, it's beautiful, and yet I honestly felt so comfortable wearing it. I took to this a little bit easier than its counterpart, Guerlain's Chamade, which they both came out in 1969, by the way. They both have similar note breakdowns. But yes, I mean, Dior Essence for me is a all-time classic. One of Guy Robert's best, maybe Guy Robert's best creation. And then there was a creation by Ellie Roger in 1988, and it's called Knowing. So this is also a feminine targeted fragrance. And Knowing has this mimosa, plum, tuberose, pittosporum, rose, jasmine, orange blossom, patchouli. It starts out, you can really tell, you can smell the white flowers in here. You know, the white flowers, but it breaks down into this ambery, oak mossy chypre, beautiful chypre, floral chypre. You know, this, if you can find this, if you can find these older bottles right here for, I don't know, $100 or less, as far as like spending $1,000 on chypre extraordinaire, this gives it a run for its money and then some to me. There's just no reason to drop that much money on chypre extraordinaire when you can find beautiful floral chypres like this floating around, and people think, oh, it's Estee Lauder, you know, what's the big deal? No, this is an amazing fragrance. I think this is easily unisex. Don't let the fact that it was marketed for women put you off. Okay, a new addition to my lineup. This came out in 1986. Another feminine targeted fragrance release. Beautiful fragrance. They don't know who made this for sure, but they think it's Francois Caron, but we don't know for sure. This is Sharer II. So JeanLouis Sharer II. So I have a decant of Sharer I, thanks to Rachel, which I like, but I really like this because this was more animalic and more spicy. It still had a little bit of a highlight on the florals. The tuberose and the jasmine are highlighted here. The white florals are highlighted with the rose. However, there's also a violet leaf note in the opening, which is historically a very masculine note. And there's real Mysore sandalwood in here. And I got this for $25. What a steal, you know. It was last marketed by Designer Parfums, but my bottle is a Parfums International. So it's an older bottle. I feel so lucky to have found this at that price. Probably the best from the house of JeanLouis Sharer, in my opinion. Okay, now we're moving on to another masculine, and this one is a Halston fragrance. It came out in 1994, and it's probably one of the most underrated Halstons. I know Halston Z14 is great. I know 112 is great. Very few people talk about this one, though. This is Catalyst for men. I love this. I love the bottle design. I love everything that went into it. This is such a complex, spicy, woody. There's a vodka note in here. Very unique vodka note. There's galbanum. There's lavender. There is tuberose, but there's also, I get a lot of sage, this herbal masculine sage, like this spiciness to it with caraway and tarragon. Those are the big 3. There is a little bit of mint, speaking of herbs, a little bit of mint, but it's not super minty. That's the way I like my mint, just a little bit, right? I don't like it smelling like you're a full-fledged mint garden. But there's geranium, chamomile, bay leaf, lily of the valley, nutmeg, rose, blackcurrant, violet, cinnamon, amber, benzoin, oak moss, castoreum, labdanum, leather, musk, patchouli, sandalwood, tonka, vetiver, frankincense, cedar, How's that for a note breakdown? Roja Dove, eat your heart out. I didn't even mention the basil, bergamot, galbanum, orange, you know, mandarin orange, rose. It just goes on and on and on. But what a fragrance. I mean, if I was alive in the night, if I was alive, of course I was alive. If I was a grown-up in the 90s, this easily could have been a signature scent for me. I love this stuff. And this is one of the original Halston Fragrances ink bottles. So I'm stoked to have this. This is thanks to my buddy Amouage from Enchanté Perfumes. I need to wear this soon. It's getting to that time, you know. Okay, next on the list is a Creed. And this is one of their older bottles from the 75, 100 and whatever it was, 125 ml bottles. This is Royal Mayfair. So their older bottles look like this with the Creed logo, the three-plumed crest all over it. And back when they used to actually say they used the best ingredients, millésime, the best of that year's crops. Like their Dom Perignon, you know? We won't make the perfumes if it's not the best of that year's crops. But Royal Mayfair is a great fragrance. It's a 120 ml bottle, I think. Yeah, 120. And these are the ones you want. Either this or the 75 ml. Don't buy the new ones. That's Ramsey's advice, okay? Say whatever you want. Don't buy the new ones. And I will continue to say don't buy the new ones until I get a public apology from Creed for selling me a batch of Aventus from 2018 or 19 that smelled like just straight water. It was gone in half an hour. I'm not exaggerating. Gone in half an hour. I'd spray it on before work. It would be gone by the time I got to work. So fuck Creed for that shit. But my old Aventus batches I love. It's just the new ones I think are shite. And I know people come in here and they're like, well, have you tried the 2022 batch? I'm done. They've lost me. Creed has lost me because of their shenanigans. But when something's good, I have to admit, it's good. This is good. This took me a while. I mean, it almost took me like half the damn bottle to really appreciate and understand what this is. I have a vintage decant of Windsor. So I will do a comparison video. I know you guys love the comparison videos. We'll do a comparison video between Windsor and Royal Mayfair one day. But this is a floral fresh. It's so posh. I mean, the name is perfect. It really does feel like you're walking down Windsor. You just got out of your Jaguar. You know, you've got your $5,000 three-piece suit on with your top hat and your cane, and you're about to go shopping at Windsor for your girlfriend that's 30 years younger than you are. That's what this smells like. It just smells like money. There's this gin and pine thing going on in the opening, and lime. And then there's rose and tuberose in the heart. And if there is such a thing as a masculine tuberose, if I've ever smelled a masculine tuberose in my life, this is it. This is the reference example of a masculine tuberose to me. There's one other one that we'll talk about. But there is something about this, man. There is really something about this. And then the kicker is the eucalyptus. That's what really put me off. When I first got this, that eucalyptus note almost made me give this away. I almost gave this away. Just like, here, just take it. I don't want it. I don't even want to sell it. Just take it. Luckily, I don't sell my fragrances, so I sat on it, and I came back to it, and I ended up completely doing a 180. It's got that Creed, you know, woody cedar, but very easy to like. But it's that eucalyptus note that makes it seem very niche and very unique, okay? Very unique. So, Royal Mayfair, one of the best rose tuberose combos I've ever smelled. And then, in my batch is a 2015 bottle, if you're interested. And then we've got a discontinued Tom Ford, sadly discontinued. They made a mistake discontinuing this, but you knew it was coming just by smelling it. This is Tom Ford's Noir Anthracite from 2017. Thank God I got the 100 ml of this. And so this is a Honoré Blanc creation. Bergamot Sichuan pepper, one of the best Sichuan pepper scents I've smelled, along with Amouage Man, two Sichuan pepper giants. Ginger, Tuberose, Jasmine Sambac, Galbanum, Patchouli, Cedarwood, Macassar wood. I just did a comparison video on Rochas Macassar if you're interested. And Ceylonese sandalwood. This is such a fantastic fragrance. The patchouli is a little bit more amped up than what this gets compared to, which is Narciso Rodriguez for him Eau de Toilette. That is much more musky. It's got that Francis Kirkjohn musk. This has a little bit more patchouli. But the Sichuan pepper really came out last time I wore it. I got a lot of that pepper, a lot of the woods. Beautiful masculine. If you like the fragrances of the 80s, you'll like this. Even though this is a modern, designer, if you will, it's it feels like an 80s creation. And then, going back to the women's side of things, so we just did 3 masculines in a row. Catalyst for men, Royal Mayfair, Tom Ford's Noir Anthracite. Back to the women's side of things. This is Givenchy Satis by the great Dominique Ropion, 1984. A floral sheep. And what a fragrance this is, though, man. This is so underrated. At least these vintage bottles are. Oh, it's so complex. It's so complex. It's so deep. It's like your brain just wants to celebrate what it's smelling, Your brain is just like, it sizzles your brain cells to jump for joy because you're just smelling something so beautiful, so deep, so complex. There's that Brazilian rosewood in here. There actually is a coconut note in here, which I know, sometimes I said that the actual tuberose can come across smelling very creamy and almost coconutty on its own. Green coconutty. Here, there actually is a coconut note in the top. Okay, so there's coconut, orange blossom, honey, iris, Florentine iris, jasmine, narcissus, Egyptian rose, tuberose, ylang ylang, amber, oak moss, clove, musk, patchouli, sandalwood, vanilla, vetiver, civet, castoreum, precious woods, and bay rum. And it's just beautiful. It's stunning. It gets to live in its little box. This is the vintage with the short ingredient list. I heard the new one sucks. Surprise, surprise. But if you can score one of these older bottles at a good deal, go for it. Okay, next on the list, we have a fragrance that I don't really care for. I mentioned a eucalyptus fragrance I love. Now I'm going to mention one I don't love. This is Bvlgari Man, M-A-A-I. And this is kind of like this floral take on eucalyptus that never turned to a love for me like Royal Mayfair did. I'm still in the I don't like it phase. Maybe one day it'll change to a like, but for now it's a no. I don't care for it. It's this florally aldehydic. There's a big tuberose absolute note in here. Ylang, jasmine, oak moss, musk, patchouli, eucalyptus, cedar, bergamot. It's just not my thing right now, but it does deserve to be on the list. Maybe one day I'll sell these. I probably should sell them. I never wear them, but okay. Next is probably the only contender for the top spot for masculine tuberose in my eyes. Royal Mayfair and this one would duke it out for the top masculine tuberose fragrances. This is from the house of Richard James, and it's called Seville Row. Seville Row. So Seville Row is a very interesting fragrance because it starts off smelling almost like a barbershop. It starts off very sprightly with green tea and ginger and rosemary and petit grain, almost like you're getting like a barbershop fougere from 25, 30 years ago. You get the lavender, which adds to that presence. But you also get the tuberose, and it's almost there from the very beginning to the end of the fragrance. It's this creamy tuberose. And it dries down to this sandalwood fresh take on tobacco with suede. So it almost dries down to this fresh oriental smell, if that makes sense. Starts out like a barbershop, dries down to a fresh oriental with the tobacco and amber and suede. Beautiful fragrance. I mean, it's floral and spicy. It's got that Halston, you know, like blood cell bottle, if you will. And I enjoy this fragrance. I do have the vintage gray box, so I've never smelled the new colored box. But if you can find the vintage, go for it. I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it. It's probably, as far as tuberose goes, these are the two top masculine spots, with these two kind of bringing up the rear. Not that they're any worse scents. I just think the tuberose doesn't play as big of a part in these two as it does in Royal Mayfair and in Richard James Savile Row. Okay, couple left. Next, we've got a Ted Lapidus fragrance. This is the only one I included on the list that does not have a this does not have a tuberose note according to Parfumo, but I think there's a tuberose note here. It's floral, it's spicy, it's Rumba by the house of Ted Lapidus. How about that for a presentation? Beautiful. And I think you can get this for cheap. This is a cheapie. Bogart keeps their fragrances in very good condition. I have no clue how. I don't know how Bogart keeps something like this in as 20 bucks. How is that possible? But they do. It's like this green rose with Mirabelle plum. There's this syrupy plum in here, and orange blossom, and jasmine, and oak moss, and amber, and sandalwood, and patchouli, and animalic notes, and I think tuberose. I think there's tuberose in here. I could be wrong. Could be completely wrong. This is the one that, to my nose, goes, damn, there's some serious white floral, creamy tuberose in here. Green tuberose. But yes, according to Parfumo, no tuberose. Okay, next is probably one of my favorite takes on tuberose as a unisex fragrance. And this is called Musk Tonkin. This is the vintage Eau de Parfum, which is discontinued. They now only sell the Extrait. I've never smelled the Extrait, but my God, man, what an animalic floral this fragrance is. The animalic notes come from Hyraceum and Muscanone, and it's cistus, tuberose, frankincense, myrrh, sandalwood, rose. Probably one of my favorite musk just designers. You know, Musk Kublai Khan is still growing on me. I had a personal attachment to that fragrance back in the day from an ex who wore it. And so it kind of gives me weird memories when I wear Musk Kublai Khan, but I'll continue to force myself to wear it and get to know it. But Musk Tonkin is probably the one that I would take right now over Musk Kublai Khan. I know that's blasphemy to some musk lovers, but honestly, once you've smelled the real musk from a Russian Adam or something like that, none of these can hold water to it anyways. The real musk is just so, it's almost like a religious experience, you know. It's like you're being brought up to the heavens or something. I don't know. Okay, the last two are, well, one's a feminine targeted release and one is a unisex release, but probably the fragrance in my collection that most represents tuberose from a feminine targeted standpoint for me is this. This is Dior's Esprit de Parfum Poison. The vintage Christian Dior Esprit de Parfum. I wish I could send some of this to Persolays. He was asking about it today on the stream. And this is just the epitome of everything the Fragrance Society said tuberose is. This is voluptuous. This is intoxicating, expensive. Like Roja Dove said, it's a harlot. This is a harlot of perfumery. Absolutely it is. You know, Poison is huge, one of the biggest perfumes of all time. It's got that honeyed plum, rosewood. I mean, I don't dare wear this out and about as my scent of the day, although maybe one day I will, just to see what happens. But the carnation, the opopanax, the way that the opopanax, which is sweet myrrh, and vanilla give it this oriental vibe in the dry down, reminds me of like they took Opium by YSL and they kind of wanted to make their own version of that. And so they did. I mean, the poison apple, the apple from the tree that Eve ate, and now they have knowledge, you know, that there's so much symbolism here. The bottle is perfect. Dior was on this stretch in the 80s where everything they did was perfect, you know. And then a couple years later, they did Fahrenheit, and they did it again. The marketing, the smell, the hype, the everything about it was perfect. And that's how I feel about Poison. You know, Dior was just on this. They were riding on cloud 9 in the 80s, man. If you've never smelled this, this is one of the most decadent, you know, I know we talk about, like, I talked about the Roman story with the little crown earlier. This could easily be like a Roman intrigue story, like they're in the bathhouse, you know, and they're in the Roman baths, and you know, it's like if you ever watched the show Rome from HBO, which was like 20 years ago it came out or something. They only did a few seasons and then they stopped, but it's that, you know, death and love and murder and intrigue, and it's all, you know, that kind of stuff. That's what Poison reminds me of. Like, it's just it's so decadent and rich, and you know, oh god, it's in a league of its own as far as oriental it's in a very elite league, let's put it that way, as far as oriental fragrances go. And that tuberose is just the epitome of a narcotic tuberose, you know. So okay, so finally I want to show you the final two, which one's a sample, and it's thanks to Rachel again. But as far as like recreating the tuberose note in perfumery, this is one of the best versions I've seen in like a composition, okay? And this is Carnal Flower by Frederic Malle. And so Carnal Flower was done by the great Dominique Ropion, again. This is tuberose with coconut and eucalyptus. And those two notes, coconut and eucalyptus, are like the perfect highlight for tuberose for me. It's tuberose absolute in here, by the way, with orange blossom absolute and white musks, you know, and jasmine absolute to give that floral, white floral bouquet thing going on. But it's the eucalyptus and the coconut which are perfect, because when I smell the actual tuberose, okay, it has the camphor-like qualities of eucalyptus, but it also has that creamy quality of coconut on its own. So when you blend the two, or three ingredients together with some Dominique Ropion magic with melon and ylang ylang and silicate and all this other stuff, you get one of the best tuberose fragrances of all time. Would I buy a bottle of this? Ooh, that's a tough ask. Probably not. I do have 3 vintage Frederic Malle bottles coming very soon. I found, thanks to my buddy Moudessir, I found 3 vintage Frederic Malles pre-Estee Lauder. If I ever did buy Carnal Flower, I would probably buy it, you know, in the vintage version. But I think I'd probably buy Iris Poudre vintage first, is the only thing, over Carnal Flower. Because Carnal Flower is that huge white floral with the green, camphorous green, you know, coconutty thing. So that's my only beef with it, is I don't know how much I'd wear it, but it would be a cool fragrance to have. And finally, I think you can still get this on his website. I think. Don't hold me to it, but I think you can. And this is a tar by the great Amouage Ubar. You can see his symbol right there. This is called Tuba tar. And Tuba, oh, shit. Get back here, Tuba. You'll never escape me, buddy. So Tuba is tuberose in sandalwood. It's a very simple composition, but if you want to smell what I'm smelling on the actual tuberose, the actual dark tuberose that's been sent to me, if you want to smell the closest thing I've smelled to that, go to AmouageUbar.com, get you a little sample of Tuba, or get the little Tola, quarter Tola, whatever they call it, 6 mils, I don't know what it comes in, 3 mils, 6 mil, 9 mil, I don't know what it is, 12 mils, but this stuff lasts forever on your skin. It's not super complex, but it's one of the best ways to highlight tuberose and sandalwood. And if you get multiple ones of these, you can mix and match. So like, for example, there is Genda, which is marigold in sandalwood. There is Champaka, which is, believe it or not, Champaka in sandalwood. And so you can actually mix and match these, and they create a beautiful bubble around you. They're not going to be, you know, if you're the type of person that likes 3 or 4 transitions and complications in your perfume and all this stuff, and you like depth, and they have depth because the ingredients are so beautiful, but they highlight really the 2 ingredients in probably one of the most realistic sandalwood notes you've ever smelled, okay? That's what I would say. But if you want to really smell tuberose, that's what I'd recommend you sniffing. It's unbelievable. It's blended in a way that you are just not used to smelling. That tuberose, that floral woody combination is so good. If you've ever smelled his Santal 2000 or whatever they call it, where it really highlights the aspects of sandalwood, you get that here. It's beautiful. So that's my tuberose video. I've been putting it off forever. One of my subscribers recommended it, and I couldn't say no. I thought it was a great idea. I was looking for a video to do today anyway, so there you go. So thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know what your favorite tuberose scents are. Let me know what the feedback is on the scents I talked about. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my assessment of them. I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the support. I appreciate everyone who has sent me stuff. To all of my perfume god people. I think this even came from Duncan. I can't even keep up with, you know, who sent me what sometimes. So, you know, if you sent me stuff and I did not give you a shout out, apologies to any of my perfume god people who have sent me stuff. Thank you, seriously, to the brands that have now reached out and sent me some samples. Thank you. A lot of thank yous go out because I'm excited to get to dive into this stuff and get to know it and talk about it, and hopefully it just helps the community and it helps you guys make better decisions. And so yeah, so that's kind of my my thoughts. Thanks for watching my tuberose video. Cheers, everybody, and I'll see you again tomorrow soon. Take care. Bye-bye.